أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We were discussing the laws of Jabira. Jabira wuzu. Jabira is the bandage that is covered over an injury. Now take the example of a fractured bone or a wound or a sore, any other thing, any other injury that is covered with a bandage. This is known as Jabira. Okay. Now, we discussed a few laws regarding Jabira in our previous discussion, and now we will be discussing a bit more here today, and then we'll move on to the next topic, which is ghusl. Now how did we begin this journey? We started mentioning the laws of purification, the laws of tahara, and we discussed the najis things, we discussed the ways of making them pure, we discussed how does something get najis, how this najasat is transferred, and what are the ways of purification and all that. And then we started the wudu part, which was probably we discussed it thoroughly, and if it's not thoroughly, we did not discuss it briefly, right? We discussed almost all the laws that are useful while a person is taking wudu, and this is the last topic regarding wudu. Okay, so here in wudu al-jabira, if they say that if the jabira, if it completely covers all part, it covers the complete part of the body on which wudu is performed. If it covers one of the parts of the body on which wudu is performed, if it covers it completely, then performing jabira wudu will be sufficient. Performing jabira wudu will be sufficient. However, if the jabira, if it does not cover all parts of the body, if it covers most of, if it does not cover all or most part of the body on which wudu is performed, in this condition, then he says that on the basis of obligatory precaution, one must perform tayammum and wudu al-jabira. Both tayammum and jabira should be performed. Alright? So if it covers completely, then one must perform wudu al-jabira. And if it does not cover completely, or it does not cover most part of that part on which wudu is performed, here it's obligatory on the person to, on the basis of obligatory precaution, to perform wudu al-jabira, and as well as along with wudu al-jabira, he must also take tayammum. He must also do the tayammum. Okay. Now this jabira that we are talking about, we should also keep this in mind, that it's not obligatory that this should be made of something that is permitted to wear while a person is praying. Now, for example, silk or skin of a few animals that are unlawful to eat, it's not allowed while praying, right? So, but the jabira can be made up of silk, it can be made up of skin of those animals that are unlawful to eat. This is permissible. So it's not a condition that this jabira, it should, but the only thing that we say is that this jabira, it should be pure, so that while we wipe, it doesn't become najis, right? The way we discuss in the normal wudu, that when we are doing wudu, while we wash our face or the two arms or the feet or while wiping the head, it's obligatory that these parts be pure while we are washing them or while we are wiping them, right? So this is also something that might be useful, that if someone wishes to cover the injury with a silk cloth, so obviously silk is not permissible while praying, but the jabira, it can be made of that. It can be, one can use jabira, one can use silk as jabira. Okay. Now, if someone has a jabira on the tips of his fingers, now here there is a jabira, there is a covering in this part, the tips of one's finger or the palm, that means the place that is used to wipe. Please pay attention to this. Till now, what example did I give? The example was that if someone has a jabira on his face, or on his wrist, the way we discussed in the previous session. But now, in today's discussion, we are saying that if someone has a jabira, has a bandage on the tips of his fingers or the palm, that means the area, the tip or the palm, these two areas, they are used to wipe one's head or to wipe one's feet, because we wipe with the palm or with the tip of our fingers, right? So in this condition, if the jabira is on the same place, now see, how am I going to perform the wudu? I will wash it, okay? And then the jabira, if it's pak, if it's tahir, what will I do? I will make, I'll be wiping over this jabira. Now this jabira has some moisture. I must wipe my head and the 2 feet with the same moisture that is present on the jabira. Alright, so I must use the same moisture that is present on the jabira to wipe the head, the front part of my head and the 2 feet. These 2 places, they should be wiped with the same moisture. Alright, so we will not be allowed to take other wetness from some other place and then wipe the head. No, the same wetness should be used. Okay. Now, they say that if the jabira, if it covers the entire surface of the top of one's foot, all right, except for an area of the toes, the way you might have seen that, la samahallah, if there is any kind of injury or a fractured bone in one's ankle, the way they cover it with the plaster is that only a part of toes is left open. All right, only that part is uncovered. Rest all they cover it up to the knees. All right. So here in this condition, the person, he must wipe the place that is uncovered, that is the toes. Now take the example of my hand. Suppose this is my foot, right? Now only this part is uncovered, and the other part is covered with the plaster. So while I'm wiping this place, I must wipe this open part, all right? I must wipe the places that are uncovered, and then the jabira, this is known as jabira, this is the bandage, okay? Then I'll be wiping over these parts, okay? I'll be wiping over the jabira that is covering the other parts. This is while we are discussing, while we are wiping the top of our feet. This is what that should be done, okay? Now, if there are a few jabiras, now someone whose face or the arms, they got injured from a few places, this part or the part of a forehead or some other places, a person is having a few jabiras, a few injuries on his face, okay? In this condition, he must wash between them. Now, if there are a few jabiras, one is here and the other is here, right? And the laws that we mentioned in the previous discussion, they will also come here, that it should be done from the top to bottom. If it's possible to take it out, to remove it, one must remove it, and the other things that we discuss. What here he wishes to say is that if there are a few jabiras, then one must wash in between them. Because the jabira, yes, it will be wiped. A pure piece of cloth should be placed over it and it should be wiped. But the places between the two jabiras, this should be washed. Alright, from the top to bottom. Now, for example, there's a jabira over here and there's a jabira on my wrist. Now, this place that is left, which is uncovered and which is uninjured, this place, it should be washed from the top to bottom. Okay, so if the jabiras are on the head or the feet, similarly, he must wipe between them. So there are two jabiras on the head or the feet, he must wipe in between them. And as for those places that are covered by the jabira, he must act according to the rules of jabira. Now, if la samahallah, someone has a few injuries on the top of his head, on the front part of his head, if he has a few injuries over there, now if the bandages are placed, one, and then there is a bit of place, and then the other bandage is placed. Now, this is this kind of bandages, they are placed on one's head. Now, one must wipe the area between the two bandages, right? And as far as those areas that are covered, one must act according to the laws that we discussed of the jabira. Okay. Now, another important mas'ala is that if there is no wound, okay, cut or any broken part, okay, now someone, I do not have any injury, neither do I have a fractured bone, alhamdulillah, and on any part on which wudu is performed, but water is harmful for the person for some other reason, because it's too cold. Now here, we will not be performing wudu al-jabira. Now a person is shivering from cold, and he knows that if I use water, the person who is shivering from cold, he knows that if he uses water, he might get seriously ill, or he might die, or any other thing, any other excuse that he has. Okay, any other legal excuse, it should be a legal one. Okay, that it should be harmful for any other reason, or any other reason other than the injuries. Okay, now here he won't be doing wudu al-jabira, but it's obligatory on the person to perform tayammum. This person will be performing tayammum. Wudu al-jabira is only for those who have got a jabira, who have an injured part, whose one of the parts on which wudu is performed is injured, or the bone is fractured, or any other injury, a wound, a sore, or a boil, any other thing that is known as an injury, right? So wudu al-jabira is only meant for that part. But if water is harmful for him because of any other medical reason, or it's harmful because of severe cold, or it's harmful because the person is allergic, or any other thing, right? Here it's obligatory on the person to perform tayammum. It will be obligatory to perform tayammum, and he won't be performing wudu al-jabira. Okay. Now, if a person, the last mas'ala regarding wudu al-jabira, that if a person doesn't know that whether his responsibility is to perform, whether his duty is to perform tayammum or jabira, because what we discussed in the previous session and what we have discussed till now in these 15 minutes, 12, 13 minutes, is that there are certain places, in certain places a person should perform wudu al-jabira, and in certain places person must perform tayammum. So what Ayatollah al-Azma as-Sayyid Ali Husseini as-Sistani hafidhahullah, he says, he makes it easier for us. He says if someone doesn't know whether his duty is to perform wudu al-jabira or whether his duty is to perform tayammum, he doesn't know. Okay, so he doesn't know, should I perform tayammum or should I perform wudu al-jabira? In this condition, he says, based on obligatory precaution, this person must perform both of them, both the jabira and the tayammum. Jabira and tayammum, both of these things, they should be performed. If you do not know what your duty is, then perform both of them. Okay. Now the prayers that one performs with wudu al-jabira, they are absolutely valid, and one will not be observing qada of those prayers. Okay. And also he can perform the subsequent prayers with the same wudu. It's not that you must take another wudu for every prayer that you perform. No. But if you have not performed anything that invalidates wudu, then you can use the same wudu that you did, the same wudu, that is wudu al-jabira, that you did for the previous prayers. You can use the same for the next one as well, if you have not performed anything that invalidates the wudu in between. Okay, that means what I want to say is, what is mentioned here in Mas'ala 343 is that the subsequent prayers, they can also be performed with the same wudu. That means one need not take different wudu for all his prayers. Okay, so this is also the last mas'ala regarding wudu al-jabira. Okay, now we are done with wudu al-jabira. Now the other topic that is to be discussed are the ritual baths, which is the ghusl. What did I say while we were talking about the things that purify us spiritually? What are those things? There are three in number. One is wudu, the second one is tayammum, and the third one is ghusl. Okay, so the first one we discussed was wudu, and then we discussed different types of wudu, the wudu that we do normally, and then the wudu that is done by immersing one's body parts into water, by immersing one's elbow from the elbow towards the tip of the fingers. One immerses his hand this way inside the water. This is known as wudu al-irtimasi. Okay, this is immersive wudu. And after finishing the part of wudu, we will be discussing the laws of ghusl. They say that there are 7 obligatory ghusls. 7 ghusls that are obligatory. The first one is the ghusl which is done for janabat, ghusl al-janaba. Okay, this is the first one. The second one is the ghusl that is done for hayd, which is for the women. The blood that they see, the periodic blood that they see every month, after when they get pure from that blood, after when they stop seeing that blood, then they should perform the ghusl, which is obligatory, and this is known as what? Known as ghusl for hayd, ghusl hayd. The third one is the ghusl for nifas, which is after the blood that is seen after giving birth to the child, the blood that is that comes out, that passes after childbirth. This is the third one, which is known as ghusl for nifas. The fourth one is the ghusl for istihada. I discussed these 3 in the previous session as well, not the previous one but the day before. So these are the 3 kinds of ghusl that of the 3 kinds of blood that are seen by the woman: hayd, nifas, and istihada. Istihada is something that is other than these 2, other than hayd and nifas. Nifas is something that is seen after giving birth to a child. Hayd, which is seen periodically every month, the period is between 3 to 10 days. Either it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, it will not exceed 10. So the blood that is seen for this period is known as hayd, and the rest is istihada. It's obligatory on the women to learn these laws and to take care of these things, because sometimes the women, they miss the prayers or they miss their fast while they see a certain kind of blood, and it does not stay for more than 1 or 2 days. So this will not be regarded as hayd. Okay, this will not be regarded as hayd, but this is some other thing, and it's mentioned in their own specific places, and it's obligatory on every Muslim woman to learn these laws and to act according to these things, right? To act according to these laws. So this is the 4th kind of ghusl that is obligatory. The 5th one is the ghusl for touching a corpse, for touching a dead body. That means if someone makes one of his body parts come in contact with a dead body, this also it makes ghusl obligatory on this person, which is known as ghusl massil mayyit, because the person, he touched a mayyit, touched the corpse, the dead body, right? So this is also the ghusl for massil mayyit. And the 6th one is the ghusl that is given to a mayyit. So we've got 2 ghusls that are related to a mayyit. One is ghusl massil mayyit, and the second one is ghuslul mayyit. So both these are obligatory. So if someone makes his body parts come in contact with a mayyit, this will make the person liable. It will make obligatory on the person to do the ghusl, right? Similarly, if there is someone who dies, if there is a dead body, it's obligatory on the Muslims, on the believers, to do what? To give him the ghusl, to give him the ritual bath, which is known as ghuslul mayyit. So this is the 6th one. So the 6th one we discussed, they are janaba, hayd, nifas, Istihada, ghuslu massil mayyit, and ghuslul mayyit. Massil mayyit, that means touching a mayyit. And ghuslul mayyit, that means the ghusl that is given to the mayyit itself. Okay, this is the sixth one. And the seventh one is the ghusl that is made obligatory on a person himself. That means a person himself, he makes the ghusl obligatory on him by making a woe or a nadhr or an oath, alright, or a qasam. Alright, so in this condition, the way we say that if I pass in my exam, I will take a fast. Okay, I will fast the other day. Lillahi alayya an asum. So that means it's obligatory on me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fast. An asuma, to fast. Alright? So if someone does this, this is known as nadhr. So if someone does this, it becomes obligatory on the person to fast. Alright? Similarly, the way we discussed in wudu, that lillahi alayya, if I pass in my exam, I will do what? I will perform wudu. Similarly, if a person says, if I pass in my exam, I will do a ghusl, because ghusl is also an act of worship, right? Ghusl is also an act of worship. It's obligatory while we do the ghusl. It's obligatory to intend nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's obligatory to seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we say qurbatan ilallah, so that we be qareeb towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do it to seek nearness, right? So this is also an act of worship. Anyways, so if someone makes a nadhr this way, lillahi alayya an aghtasil, that I will do a ghusl, it's obligatory on me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I will do a ghusl if this happens. Anything. Not passing the exams, because there are no exams this year. Anyways, so this is also the seventh type, which is obligatory. If someone does this and the thing happens, okay, now you did it because you made a nadhr that if I pass my exam, I will do a ghusl. Lillahi alayya. And this is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do it this way, then it will be obligatory on you to do the ghusl if you pass your exams, insha'Allah ta'ala. Right? So this is also the seventh thing, which is obligatory, for which ghusl is obligatory. So it's janabat, it's hayd, it's nifas, istihada, massil mayyit, ghusl al mayyit, and then the seventh one that is made obligatory by qasam or a nadhr or an ahad. Okay. So these are the types of ghusl that becomes obligatory on a person. Now, after discussing these laws, next let's come to the other part of our discussion, which are the laws regarding the holy month of Ramadan. So as far as the laws of the holy month of Ramadan are concerned, we were discussing the acts that invalidate one's fast, and we were discussing the ninth one, that is, or the seventh one. I don't actually remember. I remember the topic, but I don't remember the sequence. That is, if a person stays in the state of janaba for until the time of the morning prayer sets in, this will also be invalidating one's fast. Okay. Now, the way I discussed in the previous lesson, in the previous session, here also we will be discussing the same thing. And as I said, the way this is for janaba, similarly it's for hayd and nifas. If the blood of hayd or the blood of nifas, if it stops before the morning prayers, it's obligatory on the woman, on her, to do what? To do the ghusl before the morning prayers. Now, if the morning prayer time, if the time it sets in at 4:15, then it's obligatory on the woman to do what? To do the ghusl before this time, to do the ghusl before 4:15, right? So if a woman, if the blood of hayd or nifas, if it stops on the night of the month of Ramadan before the time of the morning prayers, and she intentionally does not perform the ghusl, or if her duty was to do the tayammum because there were 2 minutes left, and she became tahir, now it's obligatory to perform the ghusl, but she does not have enough time. So what is obligatory on her? It's obligatory to do The tayammum, but she did not do the tayammum. So she did not do the ghusl, neither did she do the tayammum. If it was her duty, then she must complete the fast of that day and also keep a qada for the same after the holy month of Ramadan. Okay, so she will be taking the qada and will also be fasting the same day. Okay, and the niyyah, and furthermore, with regards to qada of the fast of the holy month of Ramadan, if she intentionally does not perform ghusl or tayammum, if she did not do this before the time of the morning prayers, then based on obligatory precaution, she cannot fast on that day. This is not of the holy month of Ramadan, this is the qada. If she is taking, for example, it's in the holy month of Sha'ban, or in the month of Eid, or in any other month, she is observing qada of the holy month of Ramadan. Here, if she does this intentionally, she won't be able to fast on that day, because it's not obligatory to do the qada on the same day, right? She can do it the next day as well. But as far as the holy month of Ramadan is concerned, she will fast that day, and also she will be fasting another day after the holy month of Ramadan. Okay. Now the last mas'ala regarding probably in our today's discussion is that if a woman's hayd or nifas, if it stops after the time of the morning prayers, for example, the time of the morning prayers, it's 4:15, and she and her blood, it stopped when? At 5 in the morning. Okay, in this condition, she cannot fast that day. As I said in the previous session as well, that from 4:15 is the time, for example. So 4:15, this time one should become tahir. One should be spiritually pure. Okay, so if she became tahir from the blood at 5 in the morning, in this condition, she will not be able to fast that day. Okay, and if she experiences the blood of hayd or nifas during the day while she is fasting. Now, for example, she started his fast. Okay, now while she was fasting, the day it was complete at 4 in the evening. She is fasting right now at 4 o'clock in the evening. She experiences the blood of hayd or the blood of nifas. All right, it continued. She did not know, and it continued, or she experienced the blood of hayd in this condition. Then even if it's near to the maghrib, even if it's 6 in the evening, even in that condition, this fast, this sawm, this roza is not accepted. This will be invalidated. The fast will be invalid. But what should she do? She will not be allowed to fast on this day, and it will be obligatory on her to do what? To do the qada of all these fasts that she has not taken during this period of those specific days, and then she will be observing the qada after the holy month of Ramadan. Okay. So this was also a few laws regarding a person staying in the state of janaba. And as far as someone is concerned who has touched a corpse. Now, for example, in the month of Ramadan, someone made one of his body parts come in contact with a dead body. Now here it becomes obligatory on the person to do what? To do ghusl massil mayyit, right? If someone touches a dead body, it's obligatory on the person to do the ghusl, all right? But it's not obligatory to for the validation of his fast to do the ghusl, but he can fast even if he's not done the ghusl. So this person can fast without performing the ghusl of touching the corpse. The ghusl which is of touching the corpse, that means the ghusl which is done for touching the mayyit, the dead body, right? So if one touches a corpse while fasting, his fast does not become invalid. His fast will not be invalidated, but it will be obligatory on the person to do the ghusl, and it has got nothing to do with the fast. So this was all regarding this. Now in the next discussion, we will be discussing the laws of another thing that invalidates the wudu, which is applying liquid enema. Inshallah, we'll be discussing them tomorrow. هذا وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.